Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to Coffee Tea, You and Me. I am Coach Powell. Our job today is to entertain you and to make sure that you have the best training available to teach you how to plan for a successful 2024. If you guys have been following what we've been doing for the last couple of weeks, we've been working on all the techniques and tools that you're going to need to plan for a successful 2024. We started out talking about some of the best things that you could possibly do. For example, we started out looking at the VisionQuest 90 process. And one of the things you're going to learn if you follow the VisionQuest 90 process is the importance of figuring out how to put together a comprehensive plan with the details that are going to help you with your destiny, your achievement, about making sure that you understood your partnerships. How do you create the right types of collaborative partners? How do you create the right goals? How do you balance that with your vision, making sure that your mission is on track? And now this week, we're going to get into habits. We may finish everything tonight. We might not. It depends on where we go. But hopefully we'll be able to talk about all the things that make your habits work for you. Having a comprehensive understanding of the entire planning process is super important, including understanding how to use and to maximize the value of your habits. And that's what we're going to get to talk about today. Today, we're going to break down your habits, everything you want to know about habit mastery, right? We're going to talk about the truth of your habits. How do you make your habits actually work for you? What habits are all about? Where do they come from? How do you develop them? What do you need to do to make sure that you're maximizing everything that you should do? We're going to talk about the problems that people have with their habits, why they get into negative or bad habits, and how that becomes infectious and quite difficult to break. Then we're going to talk about the 8 superpowered habits of the most successful people. We're going to get into what the best of the best do consistently and regularly to make sure they have the right habits, because it doesn't matter to make a difference how good your plans are. If you can't execute those plans successfully, then it's not going to help you at all. The next thing you're going to work on is benefits of tracking. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what the ancient texts like the Bible may have said about habits. We're going to talk about some of my favorite quotes that teach us a little bit more about self-mastery and habit making. And then we're going to talk about finally the tools and techniques of self-mastery. And we're going to repeat a lot of this stuff over and over again because it's very important that you understand this. So hopefully, like I said earlier, we can get through everything and maximize this time that we have together. It's been a wonderful opportunity for most of you all who know me. You know, I'm all about making sure we're doing the things that we have to do to focus on the right things for people. If you're watching us for the first time, definitely like it, share it, let us know about the show, things that are working for you, things that are not working for you, what you enjoy. We're all open to that. If the comment section's available to you, if you're watching this on Facebook, LinkedIn, or on YouTube, make sure that you identify yourself in the comments. Let us know who you are, where you're coming from, how you found the show, anything you might want to tell us about your business. This is a business-friendly show. I can't remind you over and over about that. It's super important. If you have an event that you want to post, that you want to share, go ahead and post it. A discount, especially over the holidays, that you want to post, that you want to share. In fact, I've already posted in the comment section, and I'll repost it here again just in case you didn't get it. If you guys like to have a complimentary coaching session with yours truly, all you got to do is hit that link and take a look at that, and you and I will get together and we'll find out what we can do to help you create some of the better habits we're going to talk about later on today. And we're going to get into our discussion of habits in just a second. So we're going to share with this, share some brief information from you, and then we're going to get this party started. Around about this time, and I started out doing this particular program. It got over the pandemic. We got to be very broad and kind of broadcast this out to a broad audience, and now we're broadcasting this globally. And so we'll welcome entrepreneurs of any type, we'll welcome business leaders of any type, professionals of any type to come, watch, learn, participate, engage. The more you engage with this content and this information, the more you're going to get out of it, the better it's going to be for you and your professional development. So I hope you're paying attention. Today we're talking about habits, and I gave you the back brief, but let me just go forward once again. This is what we're talking about this week. We're talking about habits and all the different iterations of habits. Some of the things that successful people do to create major opportunities for themselves, to take control of their destiny, and to really max out on their capabilities. What do you need to do to have the best habits possible? And we're going to get right into our discussion today because we have a lot to talk about. If you've registered on Coffee Tea Me on any of our sites that we have registration, all the slides that we have today will be available to you, and the links that are in the slide that basically has all the research information from all the different sources that we use to source the content are going to be available to you as well. So definitely make sure that you register. If you haven't already registered, make sure you register. That way you can get example. You can get all of the exclusive content, which is super important. Okay, let's get into it. What are habits? Habits are super, super important. And the first thing you got to know about habits is they're literally your routine behaviors. They happen without your knowledge. They are your subconscious behaviors that kind of come from early development. And I got to tell you, to know how your habits are formed means you have to be consciously available and consciously aware of the processes it takes to develop those habits. So in your brain likes to take shortcuts. Your brain likes to get involved with easy methods to get you where you want to go, where it wants to go. If it sees you doing something on a regular, consistent basis, or sensing or reliving something, or looking at a process, or whatever it is you're doing, your senses are pulling in information and pulling them into your brain consistently and regularly on a regular basis, right? And so your brain is developing what they call synapses and connections that will help you get to and retrieve information that you need to retrieve fast, right? So as you're developing those connections to whatever whatever you're trying to do, whatever you do most often, you're going to develop connections to make sure that you can recall that information, make sure you can react to that information. Mostly when you've developed a habit, it's a subconscious thing. You naturally do what you always do. And you're going to hear me repeat that over and over again in today's training. But it's important to know that your brain is literally on autopilot when you have your habits. Your tendencies, your practices happen without your conscious intervention. And in order to change those habits, you're going to have to do something extraordinary in order to do it. Whatever habit you have, good or bad, it really doesn't make a difference. Your brain actually rewards you for engaging in your habits, no matter what those habits are. And it makes you feel good that you're doing something that you're familiar with, that you're doing something that's comfortable for you. And that's why you want to make sure that you're consciously aware of what you do. 43% of your everyday actions are enacted habitually, meaning basically you're on autopilot all day, every day. And the keys to developing the right kinds of habits and the right kinds of behaviors associated with those habits are your consciousness and your availability to think about those things and opportunities are going to matter most to you and people that you work with, right? Let's get into some of the details. One of my favorite quotes about habits comes from Albert Camus. And Albert really reminds us how important that habits are when he said, we get into the habit of living before acquiring the habits of thinking. Now, I don't know how that sits with you, but I don't want to live unconsciously, at least not all the time, right? I want to be as conscious as possible, and I want to be in control of myself and my thinking and what I'm doing consciously as much as possible. Because when I'm consciously in charge of my behavior, I'm not suffering from the negative behavior that's already wired into my system, right? I'm already thinking about the things. And when Camus wrote this in The Myth of Sisyphus, he was really talking about, if you know about the story of Sisyphus, he was talking about the fact that Sisyphus was an ancient Greek god or demigod. I can't remember which one, but he was being punished by the gods by being required to constantly, no matter every day, all day, day in, day out, roll this particular heavy boulder uphill. That's all he was. That's his total life. That was his punishment for some deed that he did or didn't do, right, by the gods. Now, if you understand this, you understand that we can all, as human beings, get involved with behaviors that we don't enjoy necessarily. They're not easy for us. They're not happy for us. They're not joyful for us. They're not gleeful, but they are regular and they are consistent. And those habits, we can learn how to enjoy them, how to get better at them, if we do them more often, you do something, the more you're going to be familiar with the thing that you're doing. And you can unconsciously become great at something that's even bad for you, right? So you want to make sure that you're in charge of your habits. The term habit originated from the Greek, and it originally was thought to be about your condition, your demeanor, your appearance, or the way you dress. It's not until the 14th century that the English picked up the word and became a part of your behavior, your customary practice. The things that you normally do became a part of your habits. And there are benefits that we all have when we adopt great habits. And I want you all, while you're watching this, I don't care if you're watching this in a recording or you're watching this on live right now, as we go through this, I want you to think about these 9 benefits. I want you to ask yourself a question for 2024. Which of these benefits are most important for you to have in 2024? And I want you to write down the one over in the chat that's most significant to you. There's a reason why I want you to do that. I want you just to think about it and go, well, I'm going to choose this one. I want you to write it down. Write it in the chat If you don't want to write it in the chat, that's okay. Write it on a piece of paper. Write it. I want you to engage your brain. In fact, it's even better if you take pen and paper and you write it down on a piece of paper. Because if you write it down, what happens is you're forcing your brain to conceive of the benefit that you want to receive. Now, that's not making you change your habit, but you are talking to yourself. Right? You're telling yourself, I want to receive this benefit. I want to receive the benefit of better time management. I want to receive the benefit of more efficiency. I want to receive the benefit of achieving my goals in 2024. I want to get the benefit of increasing my levels of trust with myself and others. I want to have more reliance, and I want to be able to promote how reliable I am in doing things. I want to upsize my communication strategy. I want to nurture my collaborative efforts. I want to stay on task. I want to maximize my productivity. Whatever you want to do in 2024, the thing, I know you probably want to do all the things, okay? You want to do all 9, but if you could only do one, which one would you really focus on for 2024? Right, and I'm suggesting that you're not going to do the other one. So don't give yourself like that negative hook. Find the one, but I want you to prioritize. Really, really write down the one that you think is the most important. There's a reason why I'm going to ask you to do that, and we're going to continue this as we move forward, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So when we adopt negative habits, it's just like we've discovered in Zoom fatigue. Research shows that people who have in 2020 started to use online services like Zoom to do their work have experienced feelings of exhaustion, of burnout, disengagement. And these feelings have helped them create negative habits like multitasking. It's a negative habit, right? When you're multitasking, you are literally trying to do more than one thing at the same time, which is not a good thing to be able to do. Most of us are not good at that. And a large majority of us lose about 40% of our productivity time by not focusing on the thing that matters most in the moment that it matters most. We're multitasking, right? And so a lot of times people are on Zoom calls and they're not really paying attention. They're not really engaged in what they need to be engaged in the moment. And so they're trying to multitask and answer emails and do some other things at the same time. And it doesn't work. Right, you're losing a lot of your productivity, what you're supposed to gain from being an active participant in the meeting that you're in. Right, you're not gaining. So some people are using Zoom incorrectly, and they're just using it for everything, and you don't need it for everything, right? Because you have to be careful of that. Because what happens is, you're looking at that screen over and over again for long periods of time, and fatigue is setting in. Also, people are not taking breaks because they're in these Zoom meetings all the time, one after another, and they're not giving themselves an opportunity to recover visually or mentally from all the stimuli that it causes. And you have to there's some tricks that you need to learn to use if you're going to be on those things all the time, because it's going to make you, again, it's going to stress you out, and it's going to cause you some problems. It may cause you problems physically, it may cause you problems emotionally, but it definitely will impact you in one way or the other, and it will create a counterproductivity. Why do I say this? Because we're just using Zoom as a tool. Right? We had no clue that, in using it over and over again and using it incorrectly often, it would create these negative habits. We thought it was a productivity tool, right? And it is a productivity tool when used correctly. What does that mean? What is that? How does that break down when it comes to your habits? Now, the reason why I shared this with you is because I recognize, and I shared with this with all the research that we've done, we will also do this with all of our clients, is you need to understand that when you engage in good habits, right, you're going to actually increase your focus and your ability to focus. You're going to increase your energy and how you use your energy. You're going to increase your productivity massively when you have good habits. Right? The professionals who have the great habits, they do a couple of things really consistently and really exceptionally well. One of the best things you could do to really, really ramp up your productivity and your focus and your energy is to develop morning and evening routines. Whatever that routine is, in the morning, get up, do the same things that you need to be doing that's positive, that's engaging, that will help you plan an effective day for yourself, I like to look at my to-do list that I created the night before. Like my evening routine requires me to be reflective of the day, right? Make sure that I looked at all the things that I did, tracked all my behaviors, and make sure I was doing the things I was supposed to do. And then I write those things down in my journal, right? And then I create a task list for the next day. I wake up in the morning and I review that task list. I meditate on it. I pray about it. I make sure that I've included my values and priorities that I want to make sure I want to hit. I create that prioritized task list, and that's my morning routine. And then the next day I do it all over again. The evening routine follows the morning routine. The morning routine follows the evening routine, and vice versa. And I set my day up. I do the things I'm going to do, knock the things off my list that I'm going to knock off, reprioritize the things that I think are important as new things come up during the day. And then the evening I sit down and do it all over again. So to have an evening routine and a morning routine, try to do those things at the same time that you're going to do those things, and make sure you do it when you're having that high energy opportunities. Because when you're tired and you're worn out, very difficult for you to do it, but you got to do it anyway, because when you're developing habits, Number 2, prioritize your activity as well as your rest, right? Making sure that you're doing the most important things first and foremost in the day, making sure you're knocking out the things that are urgent and important, not just the things that are important or just the things that are urgent, but the things that are urgent and important. Those are your highest priority activities, right? So every day you're looking at your list of things that you could do. Some of those things are going to emerge as the things that you should do, and some of those things are going to emerge as things that you have to do. You have to be able to prioritize those things, as well as prioritize your recovery and your rest. Can't say that enough. If you haven't planned in times to recharge your battery, sharpen your saw, do the things that bring you energy, then you're gonna fall into that routine of despair, right? That's going to become your habit. Being overworked and under energized and over processed. You're just not going to have enough juice to knock out all the things that you want to knock out, and you're going to find that you're overtasking yourself, and over time that's going to wear on you emotionally and physically, right? So make sure you get that done. Number 3, focus on your energy management. Again, rest is important, recovery is important, and you have to have that time. Because what you want to be able to do, you don't want to just be able to chill and relax. You want to be able to recover, right? You want to be able to bring that energy back to a level where you can focus and you can create whatever you want to try to create to fulfill all the things you're trying to fulfill in your day, in your week, in your month. Managing your energy is a super, super important process, and it gets the earlier you start doing it, the better you'll do it later on in life. So, as a young professional, if you're managing your energy well, you're not just burning candles on the both end all the time. You're going to be able to sustain and sustain a healthy work-life balance for the rest of your career. So it's very important that you start. If you haven't started, start now. It's going to be harder because you're going to be breaking some old habits, but make sure that you focus on your energy management. Number 4, always change up your work environment on a regular, consistent basis. Sometimes you need to stand up when you're working. Sometimes you need to sit down when you're working. You look at the computer, you do some more paperwork. You're going to change your environment. You're going to change what you do. You're going to change your mood. You're going to change how your posture. You're going to change everything that you possibly can change to keep it fresh, right? You want to make sure that, if there's pictures that motivate you, have them next to your screen so you can see them. If there's books that you need to pay attention to, keep them around you so you remember to read them, and then put time aside to actually go ahead and embrace that information and read that information, right? Make sure you're doing that. Add tasks to your calendar. Throughout the day, there's going to be things that happen, events are going to happen. You're going to get emails, you're going to get text messages, you're going to get voicemails, you're going to get all kinds of tasking from all kinds of different places, right? And so you have to then add them to your list, reshuffle the priorities, and make sure you're doing the things that, again, are priority right away. The things that are urgent and important, right? You want to make sure you have that values quadrant in front of you quite a bit, so that you can get used to deciding and making the decision. Is this urgent? Is it important? Is it both? Is it something I like to do? Is it something I want to do? Or is it something I need to do or have to do? What are the costs if I don't do this right now, today? That's that's one of the measurements I use if it's a priority, or not. If I don't do it right now, what's the penalty? Is it going to hurt me? If it's not, because then again, if it's not going to hurt me, then it's no benefit, right? So it's not gonna really make a difference. Maybe if I put that off for another day or 2 days in order to get it done. So think about that. Make sure that you organizing your stuff and make sure you prioritize your stuff. I'm gonna repeat that over and over again. Number 6, work on effective time management solutions. I don't care how you do it. I'm a day planner kind of guy, but there are people who are working online or using tools that are digital, and it's okay. Whatever tools you use, however you use them, whether you use paper, notebook, whatever you use to get into your time management. And we're going to talk about some of the tools that are available to people a little bit later on in today's talk. But it doesn't matter, as long as it works for you, as long as it's consistent. I would suggest that it needs to do a couple things. One, it needs to be someplace where you keep your notes, someplace where you can keep your contacts, someplace where you can keep your calendar, and someplace where you can keep your schedule. Again, your schedule, your calendar, your notes, your contacts. You can keep all those things together, then you're going to do a great job with your time management. You have to be consistent. You have to work on it every day. But it's something that once you get in the habit of doing it, and we're talking about habits, you're not going to have things fall through the cracks. You're not going to have things that are missing, that are important for you to do, and you're going to be able to move things forward in your life and grab the right kinds of habits that you need to grab. Number 7, schedule time for deep focus. I can't stress this enough. If you're not spending time in whatever you need to do to rejuvenate and regenerate your energy and your passions on a daily basis, do that. For some of us, it's prayer. For some of us, it's meditation. For some of us, it's just reflection time, and journaling and so on and so forth. I try to do it all, right? So it's important that I connect into that higher level thinking, and that's done through, being mindful of not just what I am, but having a mindful practice, right? Having a daily practice of plugging into the things that energize me, the things that create more passion for what I need to do. Make time for that. And there's all kinds of techniques and strategies around doing that. Again, we can talk about if anybody has any questions or anything, or any opportunities in the comments you want to put down, go ahead and do that. Got to make sure you do that. Number 8, I see you out there, Leah. Thank you so much for showing up today. It makes a difference. I love to see you out there. Number 8, make a daily prioritized goal list. Again, every day. I know that until you get into the habit of doing this, a daily prioritized task list, goal list, checklist, whatever list you want to call it, right? If you're not doing this every day, then I got a feeling you're trying to hold in your memory all the things that you need to get done throughout the day. And you can get good at that, but everybody has finite resources when it comes to your abilities and your talents and your gifts for these things. I can't stress to you enough how important it is to not take yourself for granted, because if you don't write this down, if you don't make it a part of your daily habit, I don't care if you type it out, I don't care if you use an Excel spreadsheet, I don't care what tools you use to capture all the tasks that you have to do on a regular, consistent basis, habit trackers and so on and so forth. Again, we're going to get into a lot of those things, but if you don't do it, then I got a feeling that you're trying to keep everything in your head. And trying to keep everything in your head is fine when your life is simple. But the minute, your life becomes complex, you hit adulthood and you got to manage multiple different schedules and multiple different roles and multiple different responsibilities. And I got a feeling you're going to have to start to write stuff down, or stuff is going to slip through the cracks and you're not going to be as effective as you want to be and you could be, right? So make sure you do that. Habit tracking. Why habit tracking works. We talked about this earlier, right? You are developing synapses in your brain. You're developing processes. You're rewiring your brain when you trying to develop new habits, right? When you're going through the discipline of developing new habits, that's how your brain works. And you're taking control of your brain processes and how your brain processes information and what makes your brain happy and satisfied and productive and all the things that you need to create meaning and relevance and significance in your life all happens in the brain. And you're taking control of that thing by developing a way to track your behavior and your habits consciously, right? You're making sure that all the triggers and the rewards that happen for you, you are in control of those triggers and those rewards, because that's going to help you grab the right kinds of behaviors. You're rewarding yourself for the kinds of behaviors that you know are good, right? You're taking control of your cravings and your desires by being mindful of what you want and what you're desiring to bring into fruition and what you want to see happen. That's why I told you earlier, if you write down what it is you're trying to really do, benefit that you're really trying to receive, then you can ask yourself, what do I need to do better or more of to really achieve this benefit, right? You can ask others. You can explain to others, listen, I'm trying to, like Leah said, I'm trying to max out my productivity for this year, right? I want to be as productive as possible this year, and I'm taking it really seriously. And I'm gonna, so okay, guess what? In order to do something more, do something else, you have to get rid of something that you've been holding on to. And oftentimes that is an unconscious habit that you have that you're not aware of. So how do you become aware of what's unconscious, right? You bump into it oftentimes through reflection, mostly by going, okay, asking yourself, okay, I see I did all this stuff today. I tracked all my behaviors today, and this is what I did. I don't know why I did this stuff. This is not helping me move forward at all. How can I stop doing the stuff that I did? And then you have to put in the cognitive things that you have to put in to be more effective and more efficient, right? You have to rehearse, you have to initiate, you have to pull out all the stops when it comes to finding accountability partnerships and doing the things you have to do to make sure you're creating new habits. Now, human beings have studied habits and behavior. Leaders have studied habits and behavior since the Bible times, right? And some of the things that we've come up with in the great spiritual texts of all types, of all religions, right, have all been the same things, right? You have to have rules. You have to have things that govern your ethics and things that help you with develop your principles. Where you have to make sure that you have some sense of discerning what's right and what's wrong, what's good and what's bad, what works and what doesn't work. And that comes through your constant practice and your constant behavior and your constant habit, right? You need to keep to whatever the law is of your land, of your community, of your organizations, of your spiritual groups, and so on and so forth. Understand you have to keep to those rules and those laws. They're there for a reason, and they've been there for a long time. And so you're going to come around and you're going to buck against them, and you better have a good reason, and you need to have some backup for that reason, right? Solitude meditation can't say enough about that. If you haven't spent enough time with you, thinking about you, how you have become you, what have you done to maximize you? How are you growing you? What is the next iteration of you? My good friend Maulana Karenga teaches us to ask 3 questions in life. Who am I? Am I really who I say I am? And am I all that I ought to be? When you're thinking and you're meditating and you're praying and whatever it is you're doing while you're meditating, think on those questions. Who am I? Who am I really? Am I really who I say I am? Am I all that I ought to be? And then when you come out of that time of thinking and meditating and solitude, jot down some things that you might want to be able to do that will change your trajectory, that will change how you experience the world around you, and will change what you do to influence and control yourself first, and then influence others, right? Think about those things. And then when you write them down, if you don't have an eager expectation that they're possible, whatever your goals are, whatever your dreams are, whatever your wishes are, your vision of yourself, if you don't really, really believe that it's possible, And I think you're going to set yourself up for failure. So don't do that. Don't write down stuff, and don't do stuff that you can't have a hopeful expectation that you're really going to do the work required to bring it into fruition. Right? If you don't believe enough in yourself, then don't write things down that are going to stretch that belief beyond your capacity to actually do. You're going to want to make sure that you can do the things that you project that you're going to do, especially if you're setting goals for 2024. Understand the difference between when you're meditating, you're praying, you know, understand the difference between asking for what you want and being thankful and grateful for what you have and where you come from, right? Both of those are a part of how you and I can communicate to the universe, God, or whatever it is that you believe in, right? You want to make sure that you're not just asking and petitioning for your desires and wishes to be heard and helped with. You also want to make sure that you're being grateful and thankful for the route that you traveled and the road that you've gotten that's gotten you as far as you have gotten so far. Because when you can be grateful and you can have more purposeful gratitude in your life, you'll find that the things that you want become easier for you to get. The things that you want to work towards become easier for you to work towards, because you now can see the path that you've already taken and understand that you can take a path to another future, right? You've done it before. Whatever you've done in the past led you to who you are and where you are today, right? And so all the good things that you've created today, clearly you have the ability to grab some new good things in your future. Right? And by being grateful of what you've done and understanding what you've done and what you've created and what you've manifested, and that's a good word from the seeker, right? If you understand what that is, then you can focus on that. One of the best ways to do it is purposeful and upfront expressions of gratitude and fellowship and community. Being grateful for the people that you get to be around, being grateful for the opportunities you have to connect and share and participate and communicate with others, being grateful for the communities, the organizations, the families that you belong to right now, where you have a feeling of belonging, not a feeling of isolation and separation, but an actual feeling of belonging. That's your real community. That's your real family. Those are organizations that will empower you and invite you and create with you. Now, some of the great thinkers have been out there talking about, and when I do my formal training on habits, there are like 13 different quotes that I come with, but I want to make sure I share my favorite ones with you here today. Warren Buffett has this brilliant quote, and I'll read it to you. It says, "I insist on a lot of time being spent almost every day just to sit and think." That is very uncommon in American business. I read and think. So I do more reading and thinking, and I make less impulse decisions than most people do in business. What is Buffett saying here? Buffett is saying by just sitting and having peaceful reflection and contemplation, he's able to strengthen his cognitive muscles. If he can do it, so can you, right? You can develop new perspectives. You can strengthen your insights, create wisdom, and do that by just sitting and thinking and reading and engaging in different materials and content and learning and developing your mind. So you develop your mind, it becomes easier for you, faster for you to make decisions, faster for you to be able to come up with the cognitive reasons and the rationale you need to develop insights to whatever you want to do. Another one of my favorite quotes comes from Duhigg, and I love Duhigg's book. If you haven't read The Power of Habit, that's a lot of where this content comes from, by the way, then you're doing yourself a disservice. Duhigg says, "Change might not be fast, and it isn't always easy, but with time and effort, almost any habit can be reshaped." So you can move all those unconscious habits into the forefront of your mind and make them your conscious habits. It's going to require some discipline, right? It's going to require some effort, all right? right? And it's going to take more than just the informal. I kind of gave it a try. You're going to have to put some serious effort in it. You're going to have to really, really sometimes hire professionals to help you, hire coaches, advisors, consultants, consult with your friends, your mentors, bring forth the community, the team that you need to bring forth to help you move the needle on these things, because you're going to have to take it seriously. This is not something you can just promise yourself. Write down don't even write down, just make a New Year's resolution in your head, right? And then go for it. First of all, you're not even aware of the habits that you need to change until you've done the work. Iyanla Vanzant always says, you got to do the work, right? Make sure that you understand, again, who you are, where you're trying to go, how you got to where you are today, and think of some things that you might be able to do to move yourself forward. The last quote that I want to share with you is from Octavia Butler. And those of you who don't know her writing and her influence in American society, you're missing out on a great person. I would suggest you read all her books, all her poetry. Everything is great that she created, and she's been an advocate for human beings taking control of themselves. And her quote here is, first forget inspiration. Habit is more dependable. Habit will sustain you whether you're inspired or not. Habit will help you finish and polish your stories. Inspiration won't. And I love this quote. Because a lot of times I know a lot of people out there, well, I don't feel what I need to feel. I don't enjoy it right now. And I will tell you that, the habits that you're probably going to have to engender, they're not going to be things that you're going to feel good about right away. But if you develop the discipline of doing the thing that you should do, the thing that you have to do regularly and consistently, what you're telling your brain is you're telling your brain to develop new neuralistic links to that information and to that opportunity, and you're going to feel better about doing it. You're going to feel good about the discipline that you've embraced, and you're going to start to enjoy it. You're going to start to feel satisfied because of it. People who work out on a regular, consistent basis, right? They love it. They feel like they're at their best when they're working out, when they're moving their bodies, when they're stretching themselves, when they're pushing this, and that to them is what they call, like, sometimes the runner's high. You may have thought about that, or people who lift weights, they have that pump, right? It's that energy that you get when you've exhausted your muscle, you've burnt it out you really, really pushed it to the limit where you can't do anymore, right? And then your body feels like, okay, now I'm growing. Now it feels like, something is happening to rejuvenate and to create, better muscle tissue and all that kind of stuff. And you feel the blood pumping through your body. It's a beautiful thing. Right? When you do that, it's a high. But that's like any discipline. No matter what you've trained yourself to do, as you get better and better at it, you become more effective and more efficient at it, you start to fall sort of in love with whatever it is that you do. That's how I am about my daily planning right now. I love doing it. I love sitting down. I love looking at my activities and adjusting those things and creating new habits. And, that's how I know I'm always going to get better. I'm always going to embrace the new. I'm always going to let go of the old, and I'm always going to move forward because I have good habits, right? And I use them to improve my skill, my discipline through practice, right? The quote that Octavia reminds us is to set realistic goals, plan your time, practice regularly, and seek feedback. If you can do those things, you're going to be able to perform. You're going to be able to create. You're going to be able to generate whatever you want to generate, even when you don't feel like it. You're going to do it anyway, because it's going to become your habit. It's going to become the thing that you do. It's become the you that you become, right? Very important. Okay, here's some tools of self-mastery around in the corner. There's a bullet journal. If you guys don't know what it is, go look it up. It is a great tool that you can use, paper tool that you can use to track your habits, to be able to track some of the things that you're doing, and keep those things in front of you, right? Computerized habit tracking, right? You can use an Excel spreadsheet. You can use all kinds of different data sets and analysis to begin to look at what you're doing on a regular consistent basis. I suggest that you spend 30 days just looking at the things that you are doing, just evaluating the habits as well as the mood that you're in when you're doing certain things. Because the habits, the things that you're doing, you're not conscious of them until you make yourself conscious of them, right? So you make yourself conscious of them by doing what I call a habit analysis, right? You might want to jot down, oh, I tend to do this at this time of day. I don't know why I did it, but that's what I did. And instead of doing what's on my list, I was doing something else. Why was I doing that thing? And you want to know, you want to see where that energy level is, and you want to see what's going on with that. There's a notebook method. Take notes. I jot notes all day, every day. Right? And my note section of my planner, I'm always looking at what's going on and what am I thinking and what do I want to think about at some point in time later on. I make a note of it so that when I'm doing my reflection, I can come back to it and go, okay, I was thinking about this. What was that all about? What is there something I need to do to explore that? Is there something I need to do tomorrow, or I just need to make a note of it in my journal and come back to it later on? What do I need to do with that information? Right? It's super important that you do that. Right? Predated planners. I use a predated planner, and it helps me really track my habits. Right? There are habit tracking apps that you can download. I like the paper stuff, but you can do digital apps. You can track all your habits, and you can check off, especially the things that you have to do every day: drink water, work out, read, whatever you want to do. I have a daily task list that I go through every day, and that's the same things on my task list every day. Like get up at early in the morning, tell my wife and daughter that I love them, work out, plan and record my meals, clean something for 15 minutes every day. Right, take my vitamins. Floss my teeth. These are things that I have to do regular, consistent. I do those things every day, and I make sure I do them every day. If I don't do them every day, I can't go to sleep, right? So I gotta do things I gotta do. That keeps me motivated, keeps me moving forward, and I know I'm doing well because I'm doing the minimum that I have to do. And now I add onto that. How do I express my values? How do I express my priorities, my principles? How do I accomplish things that I want to accomplish in my life and profession, and all those types of things. Habits, right? I make sure I have the right habits. And I haven't had a cavity, and I don't know how long, because I have a habit of brushing and flossing my teeth regularly, right? So it's super important that you develop these habits, because that's a costly thing, and you don't want to get there. So predated planners work, habit tracking apps work, implementation and intention, right? Doing things with intention on purpose, and making sure you're actually doing it, right? Writing it. If it's not worth doing, you're not gonna write it down. Don't write it down, right? Don't write down what's not worth doing. Do the things that you write down, and write down the things that you should be doing. Right? That's the thing that I want you to get down in your mind. Use whatever you need to do that motivates you. Symbols, emojis, whatever makes you happy, whatever gives you that attaboy thing. I like the check mark for me. Anytime I can write something off my list or cross it off my list, either like a swoosh to cross it off my list, or make a check mark or something, or X when I cross out a habit that I knocked out for the day. All those things are great opportunities for me. Now let's get into some of the nits and grits. There are other tools and techniques you have to do. First of all, you really got to understand yourself. Do that work. If you got to sit down in therapy, really know and really do that work. Whatever work you have to do to help you move forward, you gotta get to know you. Who am I really? That's that first question that Dr. Karenga will ask you to ask. Who are you? Where are you from? Who do you belong to? What set do you represent? Think about that. What defines you? How would you define me? From a positional point of view, from a political point of view, from an economic point of view, from a social point of view, from a legal point of view. Who are you? Answer the question. Write it down. This is where you're starting from. Orient yourself to yourself. Because where you go from here, who you want to become, is a function of starting where you are. But you have to know where you are to start. You can't just start going in a direction without knowing where you're coming from and where you're starting. Where's your starting point? Where's your end point? Where's the journey taking you? From what to what? You got to know. You have to know that. Start journaling. Journaling is an incredible way to start to figure out who you are. Write down the things that you do. Write down the thoughts that you have. Every day, and do that again. Try it for 30 days, and then go back and reflect on everything that you considered and wrote down in your journal. Find 3 things to be grateful for every day. Write that down. I love doing that gratitude journaling. Very, very important, because it helps you to remember It's hard to remember the good stuff. It's easy to remember the bad stuff that happens through the day. It's easy to reflect on the negativity, but it's harder to reflect on the positivity. And so purposefully reflecting on the positivity, making that a habit, right, means that you bring that positive energy into all your activities and everything that you do. But you got to do it on purpose. You got to be energetic about it. Practice your gratitude, practice journaling, get out of your comfort zone. I love that. That's a great thought process. The thing that you're chilling out in, you're relaxing in, you're doing the most often, shake it up, do something different. Because you're going to want to, again, get a little bit uncomfortable. That's how you know that you develop a new habit. It's not familiar to you. It's not your brain is going to be like, what is this all about? You have to force yourself to do this thing, even the thing that's good for you, even if it's simple as drinking 5 or 8 ounce glasses of water every day, right? Figure out how to make that happen. Figure out how to have a regular cadence of accountability when it comes to that for yourself. So you're gonna want to make sure that you develop that habit of staying hydrated. Stay hydrated, your brain's gonna function better. You're gonna have more energy, and you're gonna be able to perform at higher levels than if you get dehydrated. Give up your bad habits. Sometimes you're not aware that you even have bad habits. But when you can't do the things that you're trying to do, there's an indication right there. There's a bad habit that's stopping you. So learn what that is, get in front of it, become an early riser, exercise, eat nutritional food. My favorite one is practice your mindfulness and your self-awareness practices. Do the prayer, the meditation daily. Sometimes it's just sitting in a comfortable chair and thinking positive thoughts for a certain period of time, maybe 5 minutes. Start off with 5 minutes and then move it to 10 minutes and then 15 minutes. And as you develop that practice of gratitude, or that practice of mindfulness, then you're going to see yourself. You're gonna feel yourself growing into the person that you want to become. The last one is make sure that you have adequate recovery and rest. That's it, guys. That's all we have to talk about today. I crammed a lot into today's things, but guess what? If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. If you have thoughts, comments, anything that you want to share, I'm going to have my information scrolling across the screen. But it is super important that you develop all the good habits and get rid of all the bad habits. You can't do it all at once, but you can do it one habit at a time. So that's why I told you, look at the benefits that you're trying to get, and then look at the habits that you're going to have to change in order to embrace and get to those benefits. And choose 1 or 2 things to do. Start off the first part of the year doing 1 or 2 things, and then do the next 2 or 3 things, and then do the next 3 or 4 things, and then do the next 5 or 3 things. And pretty soon, you have embraced all of the major habits that you're going to need to embrace in order to make some magic happen. Let me see if I can't put the 8 habits right in front of you again. These are things that you can do. All of us can do. Nothing stops us from doing these things, right? Except doing them. Now, if you need help, again, you can always call the coach. These are things that I love doing. Love helping people work through. And if you want to have a complimentary coaching session with yours truly, I'm about to share a link with you to make sure you actually find that easy. You're not going to be able to see this link on. I don't think you can see it on LinkedIn. I think you can see it on Facebook and on YouTube. I don't think you can see it on LinkedIn, but I will post it on LinkedIn after the show. So it'll be in the post show notes. So anytime you want to get in front of this, have a complimentary coaching session with me. And thank you for listening. Thank you for paying attention. I love your time. I love your energy. I love your focus. And again, if you're watching this on a recording or you're watching this live, keep the chat going, keep the energy flowing, and we'll hope to see you again next week at Coffee, Tea, You and Me. This is Coach Powell signing out. And have a good evening. Have a good day. Happy holidays, guys. I'll see you next Friday.